Hello, everyone. All right. Okay, let's just wait a minute or so. Folks are coming in.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. All right, I think it's 1 minute past. Good call on here, so let's get started. Pete, do you mind to start recording?
Yep, all set, already recording.
Okay, and we're getting some background noise, so if you can mute yourself, you're not speaking, appreciate it. All right, so this is the llm-d community call. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll follow the typical agenda. Start with a quick community update, followed by open forum and then SIG updates. Again, just a reminder, this is really meant for like short updates. There are all the SIGs where we can have like deep discussions, but this is the place where you can, of course, see your questions and thoughts, and we can, of course, follow up. So all are welcome to share thoughts here. So let's get started. Maybe Pete, passing to you on the community updates, and then we go from there.
Yeah, just real quick, I'll pass it off to JJ real quick and introduce him. JJ is the other community architect working with me on the llm-d project. So I'll actually just pass over to JJ and let him say a little bit.
Awesome, thanks, Pete. And hey, everyone, I haven't met you before. My name is JJ. I'm an IBMer, and as Pete said, I'm his other half, I guess is a way of putting it. Help out with the consistency of coverage for community architects if we need it for this project. I have a prepared speech, so I'm going to go ahead and say it real quick, just to make sure we have consistency and all that stuff. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the llm-d weekly community meeting. I'm JJ Asgar, community architect for this project. And just a reminder, everyone, there is a code of conduct that we take seriously and we use this for this community. It is published in multiple places. If you do not have access to it, do not hesitate to reach out, and we will get it to you. A good part of being part of this meeting means that you agree and will follow it. And please, if you have not read it, take a moment to read it. If you haven't already, also please join our Slack workspace. It has been published in multiple places also, and you can receive the inviter link off the main site even to get to it. If you need access to any of these materials that we talk about, you need to join the llm-d contributors Google group, which is also published in multiple different places, and you can opt in and start accessing the agendas and other documentation that we have out there. Please don't hesitate to speak up if you need to, but we do ask you to mute so we don't have any background noise during this call. And I think that's about it. Pete?
Cool. Yeah, we've created also because having consistency and some coverage on the community side. In Slack, you can @ community-team. It's a group that right now is JJ, myself, and Kara, who is not on this call. She's also on the open source program office Red Hat side. So if you need any help with really anything technology related, documentation sharing, etc., just add that group, and you'll ping a bunch of us. And then the last thing before I kick it back over to you, Carlos, just want to let everyone know we are going to be sharing a survey out to the llm-d contributors and sharing it more widely here, most likely today, once we get that finalized. But the goal of this survey is should take 5 minutes or so to complete it. We are working on fleshing out the community roadmap, and having that being established by the community itself is a really big part of it. So we'll share that out with the llm-d contributors mailing list. Initially, we'll share it out in Slack. So again, make sure you join those two places. We'd love to hear your feedback and help us continue to contribute to that. Any questions, just let us know. That's all I've got. So Carlos, I'll pass it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Pete, and welcome, JJ. Very good. So as usual, let's do open forum. There are a bunch of topics that folks already kind of put in the notes. So maybe we can go one by one, or feel free for the folks in the call to just chime in if you have something that is not listed here. So maybe Rob, first with you on observability.
Yeah, this was just something that I had been kind of thinking about, which is we have like quite a few observability like overall streams, which is, you know, some items related to VLLM and enabling higher level features like SLO targeting, you know, through VLLM. But I didn't think we had like an overarching like approach to like observability of llm-d itself. You know, there's been some proposals for things like OTel to do, you know, distributed tracing, but also I'm sure there's like other kind of like system level metrics that we might kind of want to capture. I wanted to like see if this is something that, you know, folks were like interested in the upstream, or if this is something that we should kind of focus more on in like downstream products and things like that. But yeah, it's just a kind of a topic that I wanted to like sort of bring up, since it was kind of in my head about like the overall approach to monitoring and metrics and various things related to that. Yeah, Clayton.
I think we have the like deployment principle that customers and users get to own their deployments. I think that in my head, at least, that expands to most of the other operational choices around deployment, like lifecycle. I think it's a great question that observability sits on the borderline. Like even in the autoscaling group, we've had a discussion about is Prometheus the right source for metrics? And Gateway went through the same discussion, which was there's multiple scraping mechanisms in Gateway. It's not just Prometheus, it's also Orca request metrics. And then we said, if someone came and wanted something else, like for probing load balancing or whatever, we'd probably support it. But I would probably suggest that we'd be pretty open. But even like the question of like, should we dictate what the tracing mechanism is? It seems like a problem that a lot of large scale servers are going to hit. So having a recommendation seems to be pretty reasonable. So at least at a first pass, we can't dictate it, but we could encourage or endorse or have people work on it. It seems very reasonable.
Yeah, I think there's another thing too, which is like there's in some ways like what monitoring system someone is using is like, I think something that like inherently should be pluggable, like as you say, Clayton, but like, you know, we still need to like implement the hooks and like, you know, the telemetry out of like all of the subsystems to support those like higher level features. So yeah, that's definitely something that's like on my mind.
We absolutely have to expose metrics and data consistently, and it should be reasonable for us to do that. We should write it down and say, you know, something along the line. I think this would be a great thing to move in scope for the project on the list of things that, as we've had some of these discussions, like the last community meeting.
Okay.
Jeremy?
My question was like, this project has a high reliance on users being able to operate it successfully, right? So, I mean, we're going to automate as best we can. I thought there should be some kind of operations focus beyond the SLOs.
Yeah. So
what I'm saying is, like, do we have operations folks here that we can talk to and try and solicit some input and then build it?
That's open question for everyone here. Chime in. So my take on this one, and just to kind of second, right? I think observability is popping up like across all the work streams for obvious reasons, right? So this is really like in between, of course, the hooks that we need and how you operate. I do agree that, or at least I would say, I'd love to see us writing down what are like the key hooks that we need, and if they're all like in place, and what are the gaps, right? I do understand that there'll be things that will be more like on the downstream, more like how you operate, but without those hooks, or at least, I mean, agree upon set of hooks, it's hard to move forward, right? I have the impression that there's some requests for like metrics that are not in place today. I would love us as community to at least have a place where we can track them down. So Rob, back to your point, I think this, should be a kind of separate SIG, maybe like an overarching one. But we need a place where we can actually track these things. And today they're kind of popping up in different places, right? So that's I think what would help us. Okay.
Perhaps we can try to get like a North Star doc proposal SIG, like get that kind of flowing as like an action step out of the session. Okay, sorry. I think someone. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't start talking yet, but I just wanted to pick up and emphasize on something that Carlos touched on, which is for Prometheus, and I think for a lot of other kinds of observability, there's a real important distinction between offering information and collecting it, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense for this project to define the Prometheus metrics that it makes available and where they're available, right? Define the endpoints that can be scraped. It's not this project's job to tell the user how to scrape them. The users will have their own systems for scraping. So, if we make that distinction, I think the answer gets clearer, right? This project absolutely must define the metrics that it makes available and the other kinds of observability that it makes available and where and how.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I think that's aligned with most of the comments. So I think +1 from the team here. Tamar?
Yes, I think that's all good ideas. And I think that when we expose these metrics, these Prometheus metrics, we need to expose them with respect to terminology that is well understood and well defined. Right now, we have terminology which is defined in multiple different documents, but sometimes there is inconsistencies. For example, I was struggling with how we define variant. I see that it's defined, or people use it differently in different contexts. So I think part of this should be to also define a consistent terminology across all the streams. And obviously, the metric is related to this terminology.
Yeah, great. All right, so if no other comment on this one, let's move on to IGW with Colin.
Yeah, I've brought this up a couple times. I'm just gonna keep poking just to be annoying. The inference gateway meeting is in conflict with the benchmarking and PD meetings. We've discussed this, but yeah, just making sure as it is tomorrow that we fix this, because there's a heavy overlap between the audiences, and I think we'd all like to be able to attend all of them. That's about it.
Yeah, thanks, Colin, for raising this again. For the for the SIG benchmarking, I'm moving this to noon EDT. So I don't know if it's not ideal like time, but if anybody here has like a strong objection, ping me in Slack, because we had to like move both in coordination. So yeah, just so you guys know, I'm moving that one to that slot. And if there's any problem, please ping in the Slack.
Noon EDT on Thursday?
For SIG benchmarking.
Okay.
Okay. Colin, I think you have another one.
Yeah, I was looking at the deployer with a coworker earlier this week, and we were just trying to suss out. We just wanted a specific VLLM deployment. And we were trying to get it from the deployer, but it seems like it's hidden behind a lot of Helm charts, and the Helm charts make a hard assumption of the model service. Is the model service something that's going to be considered core, or is that optional? If it is optional, should we think about decomposing that a little bit more? Just questions around that.
Yeah, good ones too, Colin. Yeah, so the short answer is like this is optional. So this is like an add-on. In fact, this is incubation, right? So, and part of that kind of decomposition is happening now, but something that it took already as a feedback, and it's work in progress, but it's the latter, right? And this will be in soon.
Cool.
Okay. Anything else from yeah? Well, you speak on mute.
Not muting. Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe there is that Sri put out a proposal of moving the model service to a Helm chart, to a simple Helm chart rather than a controller. So I believe there is one somewhere.
Just comment that, yeah, we discussed this in this forum. Yeah, it's done and it's part of incubation. And Sheree, if you're here, feel free to chime in. But yeah, that was what was agreed, and we're moving to that. But it's also the deployer, right? How you decompose and use these different hubs in a way that is not just like a monolith. So I think like these are like two things, right? And they're all kind of happening as well. Okay. Anything else for the open forum before we move on to SIG updates? All right, let's move on. So for SIG updates, maybe you can start with a SIG installation. Brand?
Yeah, hey everybody. So we got a weekly on the calendar. It's tomorrow, I think 11 Eastern. Gotta double check that. But yeah, please join if interested. We've got lots of work to do. I think we're probably the second highest contributor count, a unique contributor, so that's awesome. Thanks to the community for that. We got a North Star document up for review. Lots of you have edited on it. Feel free to edit directly, and then we can probably start reviewing it tomorrow. We've got priority right now is a PR that's listed in the notes from Jeremy. It's the initial decomposition that we've been talking about that's been alluded to here. It's breaking out infrastructure from the llm-d deployments. Now you can, scale inference, TLDR, scale inference pools separately, independently of llm-d and the replicas there. And last thing is we're going to start starting to look at bumping image versions to try and get a release. I know there's talk of getting a release together sooner rather than later. So there are some broken things. So I'll be pestering some of you to get those resolved as we bump them. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Brent. PD disaggregation. Maybe Tyler next.
Yeah, so I can give the VLLM cluster scale work update. Over the past week or so, we've resolved some of the pathological issues, especially for the decode case. And we have a few open issues, but we have a branch that resolves them for the memory footprint issues for the prefill case. So model execution wise and sort of the base case for P&D. I think we feel pretty good about. Open items there are EPLB, so expert parallel load balancing, which I've been doing. We've been doing mainly small scale, 16 GPU sort of experiments. Once we push it out further, then load balancing and expert replication will become much more important. So there's a PR up from a UC Berkeley student that's accepted, and I think we'll land soon to support that. And then we have Sage on our team is working on dual batch overlap. So the bottleneck as we scale out will be these dispatch and combine ops, which we can then overlap with the computation ops. So you basically split a batch into two parts and then overlap the compute from one part with the communication on the others. I think our biggest blocker right now is some issues with the PD transfer that Rob's going to hit on in just a sec. And then other open items that we have that are ongoing on our team are switching the Nixel handshake from being ZMQ, which is currently to HTTP based. And then Nick has a PR up on VLLM, which should enable the one pod per node approach for multi-node deployments in llm-d as well as Dynamo.
Yeah, and Tyler hit on it a little bit, but in terms of the KV transfer performance updates, we were doing some more detailed performance benchmarking of the current implementation and started to run into some issues as the KV cache becomes more and more fragmented over time with our current approach, currently associated with basically transfer overhead launches in UCX. So IBM Research and NVIDIA's Nixel team have been super actively engaged on working on this. So this is really the key item that we're trying to resolve to be able to have a really performant working deployment. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of come to the final approach that we're going to take by the end of this week. And then on the CPU transfer side, there's a big step towards correctness from the LM cache team. So Yuhua has been leading some of this work for the GPU side. And then we've recently been getting close to landing TPU support in upstream VLM. So good progress on the CPU TCP-based transfer as well.
Great.
And then just one other like interesting feature. There's one feature going on, which is called like elastic expert parallelism. This is led by the AnyScale team, which will enable kind of scaling up and scaling down EP ranks dynamically. And this could enable like failure recovery. So this is work in VLLM to kind of enable like some more robustness of these EP-DP deployments. So this will be another place that we're continuing to push. It's just an interesting feature that hasn't really been captured so far, but I think is important for like the auto scaling efforts as well as the failure recovery efforts.
Abdullah?
Yeah, wondering where those discussions are happening. I would like to understand more. It helps me understand like what we need from LWS to support this case.
With the scale up, with the EP rank.
Yeah, exactly. EP rank.
Yeah. Sure. Right now, like this is kind of getting the plumbing working in VLLM to like basically add and remove like ranks from the distributed process groups. So I don't like right now, this is like imperative. Like it's kind of the plumbing in VLLM, but yeah, we can definitely hit on that in terms of like what LWS needs. But just as a heads up, I think this is a pretty interesting and useful feature for what we're targeting. So something to just track here.
Yeah. Because I think it's like, I mean, like auto scaling up in general is different from failure recovery. I think those two elastic modes are different.
Totally. Either way, though, like the primitives that we need in VLLM to like dynamically add and remove like ranks would be useful for those two higher level things. We're not currently working on making that happen automatically by any stretch. It's mostly just getting the primitives in place to ultimately enable those higher level features at some point.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a similar question. So I assume we are not consuming LWS for now. So if we are running this on Kubernetes, I would like to understand more via some documentation how they are planning to run this.
The elastic
component?
Yeah. As I just kind of said, like this isn't about like making an elastic EP system that like auto scales. It's about the current work right now is about enabling the primitives in VLLM that could allow something like that to happen in the future. The AnyScale team is actually focused on doing this inside of Ray. Once the primitives are done inside of VLLM, then we could potentially take a look at how we would want to do it inside of a Kubernetes cluster. So it's completely blank slate in terms of like how this would work in terms of the cluster. The current work is just focused on what does VLLM have to do to enable us to add and remove EP ranks dynamically.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, just a kind of meta comment on the community side. I think these the elastic components are a very good example of like parallel thinking, right? That happens like in related communities that we are actively trying to engage. Sometimes actually they reach out to us the other way around, but you continue to do that because we feel like, hey, a lot of people think about the same things. And of course, you do better if you join forces. I think that's an example. It's more like running parallel, but something that you're tracking and of course raising here as well for awareness. All right, let's see. Next is KV transfer protocol. I'm sorry, I skipped Itai. Itai, you first with the delayed code.
Yeah, the document is still in progress. I think that we're still trying to sort out all of the interactions between the different components. What the proxy does, how does it relate to EPP, how does EPP communicate with VLLM, and also the cross communication between the P and D. Once it's more of in a reviewable form, we'll share it again.
Thanks, Itai.
Thanks.
KV transfer protocol.
I think Tyler already hit on this. Let's end this group so that we can make sure we cover the other SIGs. I think this is enough.
Sounds good. Should we try disaggregation, KV disaggregation? I don't know if Vito, anyone, or
Yeah, so we had a kickoff community meeting yesterday. In terms of progress, we're progressing on the open work streams. Again, we have two major work streams open, one being VLM native CPU offloading. There are still open PRs there, and it's progressing. The second being also VLM native KV cache indexing, starting with GPU KV cache indexing, and that's close to landing in the KV manager repo.
One
We can-
important, we also want to start the storage of loading native. We had some folks yesterday in the meeting of KV cache disaggregation, and we are about, so if anyone is interested in this topic, please reach out via Slack. We are defining, and I think we will start with some design doc and then we will follow.
Good. We only have 5 minutes, so just in the interest of covering the other two topics, can we have a quick? I'm sorry, Neely, I didn't see you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that we are removing the LM cache dependency with the KV manager. So this PR will allow native, still able to integrate with it, but natively doing KV awareness with the KV events.
Okay. SIGART scaling, Tamara, quick update.
Yes. Okay. So we released another version of the API proposal based on the community feedback. So we fixed the accessibility model to be based on libraries rather than gRPC. We provided more details on optimization and justification why we need a controller. So right now there are 4 major components. There is a controller. There is global optimizer, model analyzer, and actuator. We'd like to review with the community today in the SIG meeting, and we'd like to move forward with the implementation. My goal is in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, is to have an end-to-end where we provide a single global optimizer, a single model analyzer, very simple actuation that is the simplest that you could do, which is write to Prometheus, have HPA pick it up, and show and start running some benchmarks so that we can start seeing some results. Because before we see some data points, we're not going to know which optimization approach works in what cases, right? So we want to see that. So this is where we are. John, I know you have another approach for optimization, and do you want to talk about that, John, Ben, or Kaushik? Maybe they're not in the call. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the status. Thanks.
Thanks, Tamara. And of course, there's the SIGART scaling meeting this afternoon, so we can expand there. Last 2 minutes, SIG model service. So we are considering like renaming some of this because again, there is like the model service component, which, as you guys know, this is moved to incubation. In fact, like there is a very big push to align that with the K-serve and move some of the things off of the component, so you guys can track that in that SIG. But there is some new work around LoRa support. So I don't know, Chen, if you're on the call, you want to quickly talk about it?
So we do have 2 proposals coming out, and then the proposal from Google, Clayton, you want, we will discuss some more details about what minimum changes we want to upstream to BRM to better support LoRa that meet all of our needs. So the meeting is tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. EST. I put the meeting link there, so we welcome anybody who are interested to join and give us some comments as well.
Very good. I think we finished all the SIGs. Any other comment or burning question before we close this one? Or any feedback, by the way, also? Yeah.
Regular meeting is just will start in 1 minute. So you're welcome to join.
Yeah. Everyone welcome. Great. Thank you all. See you guys again next week. Again, that goes without saying, questions, feedback, even for this call, please do chime in Slack, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.